Part 95. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gong Wei Pang. Chapter 951. Instead of refuting the song, the man asked, "Why do you laugh?" Words, smiley man. Stubbornness. Although the man's voice was not joyful or sad, the song heard a bit of anger from his voice. Could this man be a masterpiece of the father's heart and want to impress her? Or maybe she didn't feel as enchanted with him as others, so she lost face? Yanj asked him, "Who are you?" The man did not speak anymore, breaking the transmission with the words. Yanj consciously felt that this man was very strange. While talking to her, he was still preaching to the public. Yanji was uttered by his words, thinking that he was free of his life worries, so he went to sleep in the man's hypnosis. When she woke up again, she was awakened in pain. Looking up, the square that has been crowded by the moon and the sky is so empty at this moment. If it weren't for a person sitting opposite her, Yanj would have thought she was forgotten. It's too late to think about how she fell asleep at night, and why the man sat opposite her. The runes on the stone platform and on the iron cable suddenly turned golden, and each rune seemed to be crawling towards the body of Yanj. These flesh-worm-like golden runes entered Yanj's body and devoured the magic in her body. This is more painful than flesh and blood. Yanji was sweating all over his body. But not only can't she resist the struggle, she can't even make a sound. Unable to resist, she could only stare at the man in front of her with a pair of eyes. The man sat cross-legged opposite to Yanj, closing his eyes tightly, saying something in his mouth as if he was still chanting. But there was a tuft of green hair on his head, and he was wearing a coat made of fox skins that I didn't know how many. He sat there reading the scriptures, and in the eyes of Yanji, he felt extremely funny. Perhaps it was felt the hot eyes of Yanj. The man opened his eyes and looked at Yanj indifferently. In his eyes, tolerance, compassion, tenderness, love, and transparency are exactly like a holy father who can see through the inside and outside of the body and mind, knowing that the song is a bad guy, or want to embrace it. His eyes made Yanj feel disgusting. Little white she resisted the pain in her body and the disgust at the bottom of her heart, blinked her eyes, and said to him with a voice in her ear, "When you were apart from me that day, you kissed my mouth. I just let you kiss, but your lips touched my mouth and you didn't mean to leave. What was your mind at that time?" The man stared at Yanj, and he recited the scriptures in his mouth, without stopping because of the words, even without the slightest expression on his face. Yanji was not discouraged, and continued to say, "Xiaobai, do you have no feeling for me? Why do you lie to me? Xiaobai, in your eyes, what am I? Xiaobai, do you know how much pain I have now? It's like the flesh and bones are being swallowed up by countless ants, it hurts, but I don't want to die." Her voice was choking gradually, and she was extremely decisive. "Xiaobai, Xiaobai, I want to see you, I can't see you without seeing you." Opposite man, his chanting voice finally disappeared. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gong Wei Pang. Chapter 952. The man stared at Yanj with pity. "The pain is only temporary, and you can bear it. When the magic in your body disappears, you can no longer experience this pain." The words are silent. She blinked and stared at him, staring at her with tears. Yanj thinks that although she doesn't have the killing function of the cute pet, she should be regarded as a beautiful girl now. It hurt so much her voice was weak, thin, almost like a breath left, and it made people feel worried. "I can't stand it, it hurts, I can't stand it, it's up." The man stared at Yanj and said nothing. Yanj's eyelashes trembled, and the tears rolled out of the eyelids, making a moist scratch on her face. "Xiaobai, please kiss me, okay, kiss me, maybe it won't hurt." Yanji's eyes were weeping at the man with tears, his eyelashes were wet with tears, which was about too painful, with sweat permeating between his foreheads, and the small face with a big slap was even paler without any blood. She was weak and weak, begging for a coquettish voice to sound in the man's consciousness, little white, it hurts so much, kiss me, kiss me. The soft voice is like a tempting temptation. The man slowly stood up and walked towards the song step by step. But the mood on his face was not fluctuated. When he finally got close to Yanj, he raised his eyes and looked at Yanj's face. In his eyes, Yanj opened his lips slightly, his little tongue licked the corner of his lips, and two small shell teeth bit his lips. Lip color is red and bloody. She didn't speak again, but looked at him grimly, but silently. The man reached out and pinched her chin. He bowed his head and kissed her lips. It's a kiss, but it's not. He just touched his lips to the lips of Yanj and just touched them. He did not leave, nor did he go deep. When he wants to leave. Yanj suddenly opened his mouth and slipped his tongue into his mouth. The man dropped his eyes, he didn't move anymore, just kept this posture, letting Yanj rush in his mouth. Her soft voice sounded in his sense, Xiao Bai, I'm so uncomfortable, it hurts, it hurts. At this time, the man seemed to react, and took 2 steps back to sit cross-legged on the ground again, closed and began to recite. Yanj looked at him, and the tears in her eyes fell again, but immediately she bit her lip, so that she no longer shed tears, and only spoke in his godly voice with a gentle voice, Xiao Bai, you can cross people, are you a monk? Can you please tell me a few stories of immortal, maybe I listen and listen, it will not be so painful. Xiao Bai, the scriptures in your mouth are obscure. I can't understand a single word. Tell me a few Buddhism stories. Xiao Bai, I hurt so much. The man's voice rang again at this time. He did start to tell some Buddhist allusions for Yanj. Yanji listened earnestly, but her lips had been bitten by her teeth with blood everywhere. The man told 2 allusions and stopped. The faint voice of the song sounded in his consciousness, Xiao Bai, are you a monk who has become a fairy? You sit here, do you want to make me immortal? But I am obsessed with my mind. It is like a demon. I don't want to be a fairy. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gong Wei Pang. Chapter 953. Little White, can you help me dispel the obsession? Xiao Bai, I'm so hurt, so uncomfortable. In the end, the voice of the song became a breathless breath. Every word is extremely difficult. The man did not raise his eyes fell on Yanji's feet, staring at the runes that were constantly darting into her body. All people in the divine world are gods from birth, but these people are not true gods. They have fear in their hearts, they care about them, and they have persistent thoughts in them. But because they are born pure and unsullied, even if they have so many thoughts, they can't make them feel evil. In front of the woman, she is probably the only demon in this divine realm. She is magic. The feeling of fullness in the body nourishes his internal organs. But he did not feel relaxed, but he became heavier. He heard her gasping thin voice and said, Little White, it hurts. He asked her, what is your mind? Yanji did not speak, but looked at him, his eyes were infatuated. He was patient, and asked again, what is your mind? Yanji's eyelashes trembled, she no longer looked at him, but lowered her eyelids, and murmured in his consciousness for a long time, I'm obsessed in my heart, it's you. The low voice was unheard of, but he still listened so well. He opened his mouth, but he didn't speak. The subconscious thoughts in her mouth are the obscure Buddhist words in her mouth. She suddenly laughed lowly, and the voice appeared in his mind, like the clear voice of a mountain stream springing, sweet and vivid. He was puzzled. Although he was still chanting in his mouth, he asked her, "Why laugh?" The voice was no longer soft and tender, and it was about too painful, making her voice dry and hoarse. "I think, I am going to die, Xiaobai, I am dead, are you happy?" The man didn't speak, her body, he knew best. Just using the magic in her body, why did she die? "Yanj, Xiaobai, kiss me and hug me, okay? Before I die, I want to die in your arms and be kissed by you. I also miss the fox fur coat on you." The man stared at Yan Song. She snorted again in his sense. She didn't look at her like that. Nor did they continue to beg. So after a brief hesitation, the man got up and walked beside Yan Ji again, kissed her lips, stretched out his hands, and held her in his arms. Yan Ji sighed comfortably, and then asked him, "How many fox skins did you use in this dress? If I were dead, could you also make me such a dress? Wrapped with so many fox skins, I felt it shouldn't be painful to die." The man pursed his lips without waiting for her to continue talking, and his eyes fell on her long, loose hair, and his hands unknowingly touched her dark, soft hair. "Feel good." Those swimming runes no longer continued to poke into the body of Yanj, and settled on the stone platform like dead things. His thoughts gradually drifted away. Again, Yanj said, "Will you have a scalp that hurts when you sit there all day? Remember to take some medicine from time to time and don't burn your scalp." After a pause, he asked again, "Have you used those homemade recipes I gave you? How about it?" He was still stroking her hair, and then it fell down and down. She rested her whole body on him, her tender face resting on his chest. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gong Wei Pang. Chapter 954. The man's heart, beating again and again, though no different from ordinary, but felt that it seemed different. The man in his arms did not speak again. He heard her long breathing. He lifted his eyes slightly, an enchantment fell around her, and all the chains on her disappeared. He sat cross-legged and took her into his arms. Although he read the scriptures silently, his eyes fell on her face unconsciously. Looking down, his lips touched her forehead and touched her soft lips again. This touch is enough to cross the border. But he was still not satisfied, so after a short hesitation, he bit his open lips and bullied her tongue into her mouth. The sweet fragrance in her mouth was soft and soft everywhere, just like the sound of her always dripping water. Yanj didn't open her eyes. She put one hand on his neck, and the other hand pierced through his collar, touching her chest. The man's body froze. Panic is about to withdraw from Yanj's mouth. Yanji opened his eyes, and his watery eyes still looked calm to him. She did not let him quit, but bit her lip. It wasn't until the smell infiltrated her mouth that she snorted softly and pecked at his wounds lovingly. The man's body was still stiff, but he did not retreat, and did not continue to dodge any more, leaving Yanj to demand and demand on him. Under the moonlight, the clothes on the man had been stripped. But he sat cross-legged and remained motionless, without any reaction, but a woman, with a snake-like body entangled in him, attached to his skin, and from time to time, she heard a low humming sound. "Xiaobai, your body is really white and it looks good. Xiaobai, Xiaobai, why did you close your eyes? Wouldn't you open your eyes and look at me? Little white, don't you like me? Xiaobai, aren't you tired of chanting all day long? Why not call my name?" She bit his ear beads, and the hot breath sprayed into his ears, her voice soft and waxy, "Little white, call me a word. Little white, little white, little white. I like you, not because you are a monk, not because you are everyone who worships, but because you are my little white. You like me too, right? You see, you react. Little white, say you like me. Say you like me, or I'll bully it." Except that there is no two in one, Yan Song is on him, everything that should be done is done. Overnight, she was tired and nestled in his arms. This bald man, without any emotions, fluttered all night, but he didn't even open his eyes. It's so exhausting. Although the man today has lost the intimidating spirit that made her feel trembling, it is obvious that he is even colder than the previous Nan brother. Before Yanj slept, he still clutched at his guy and sighed in his heart, thinking, the man is really a and wants to set up a monument. During the second day, Yan Ji was tied to a high platform again. As for men, as usual, they preach sermons for those sitting in the square. However, the man disappeared in the morning after speaking, and Yanj listened to the people in the square. Only then did I know that this man, the Buddha number is 9 delusions. It is the only Buddha in this divine realm. It is also a born Buddha. Buddha, Yan Ji thought of the coercion of the man who had previously stood on her head, her lips cocked. That's not like the momentum that a Buddha should have. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gong Wei Pang. Chapter 955. The enchantment of the devouring beast is called the Lost Land by the gods. These people have recently come to Julu here to listen to his preaching, because even if there is a seal and an enchantment in the Lost Land, the range of the Lost Land is expanding, and it is invisible to devour the realm of God. Now this speed of devouring is getting faster, and the enchantment of the Lost Land is getting weaker. Everyone was panicked, so they wanted to come to Julu, and Buddha, to find a sense of security. In the realm of God, only gods and Buddhas can restrain the swallowing beast. But now the divine realm is down. There is only one deity in the entire divine realm. These people in the divine world are offering Ju delusion as a peerless baby. Yan Ji knows that Julu's identity must be extraordinary, but she did not expect that Julu's background identity is so bullying. God and Buddha. Or the only deity left in this deity. The most surprising thing about the words is that the gods and Buddhas have their own life roots. She thought that the gods and Buddhas didn't have that thing, and even if they did, they were just a display. Obviously, she had already experimented with it by herself last night, and the gadget was not only a decoration, it was quite magnificent. If these people in the world knew that their gods and Buddhas would be so, they would not know what the reaction would be. The use of gods and Buddhas to restrain the swallowing of beasts, these gods are obviously a little simple. I listened to Song of Songs all afternoon and heard about the deities of the ear, and I knew something about the so-called deities. These people tied her to this so-called slayer, because they felt that demons like her shouldn't appear in the divine realm, and wanted to nail her here for the worship of these divine people. Of course, those who think they are gods are still thinking about whipping her. However, the benevolence of the gods and Buddhas decided that it would be too cruel to destroy her. It is better to imprison her here as a negative textbook to remind herself. These people killed so many innocent ascenders without blinking. Now I still feel that killing her is too cruel. It's ridiculous. In the evening, the Buddha Julu came to the stage of Yanj again. On the mid-month of the moon, these runes on the high platform flashed golden light, and began to move again, all slamming into Yanj's body. Too painful, these things are like ants, all devouring Yanj's body. Yanji's sore sweat soaked his clothes, and his face was pale and pale. The man sat opposite her, chanting the verse. Yanji didn't yell any more this time. She bit her teeth and stunned her pain. She didn't make any sound. Waiting until she passed out, the man stopped chanting. He slowly got up and walked in front of her, reached out, the chain on her body disappeared for a moment, and he held her in her arms as she flung towards the ground. Sitting cross-legged on the ground, he held her in his arms like last night. Just last night, she laughed and cried, and tangled his body to talk to him. But now, she was in his arms, a soft ball, without any consciousness, and he was small and light. Although he was holding her tightly, his heart was not steady, he always felt that she would lose his breath at any time. When Yanj woke up, She looked at Zhu's eyebrows. He asked her, "Wake up." Yan Ji nodded. Rarely, he asked, "Do you want something to eat?" Yan Ji lowered his eyes, didn't answer, just scratched his chest with his head. Nine Delusion seemed to understand what she thought, her ears glowed red, she removed his clothes, and put her hands on his waist. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gong Wei Pang. Chapter 956. Words of song, what is this guy thinking in his head? Does she look bad at the moment? The gods and gods are so evil in their minds. It really fell in the name of his deity. Yanj grabbed the flesh on Zhu's waist, but did not continue as he did last night, but he continued to nest in his arms. Zhu's hands stroking her hair gradually stopped, hesitant to ask her, "Don't it hurt today? Why didn't you call?" Yanj nestled in his arms and said dumbly, "I'm afraid you'll be soft-hearted." He was stiff. This sentence may not be understood by others, but he instantly understood that she already knew his purpose. He heard her voice weakly, and continued, "I like you, Xiaobai, I like it very much, and I like my life for those I like, and I will be willing." She grabbed his hand, pinched his hand around her neck, and said softly, "Little white, I like you, what you want, as long as I have it, I will give it to you, even if you kill me, although I feel sad, I will not blame you for hating you. I like you, I like it very much." She bit his finger, "Xiaobai, I'm dead, you have to remember me, don't hug another woman in the future, don't remember any other woman, you just leave me alone." He didn't speak, just bowed his head, staring at her hand resting on his chest. Yan Ji's hand slipped in the next moment. She closed her eyes, breathing hard, her breath was obviously unstable. Zhuo quickly grabbed her hand, "Why are you so weak?" Yan Ji closed his eyes, raised his lips, and smiled at him, "Relax, for the time being, I won't die." Her head flinched in his arms, and her voice fluttered softly, "Xiaobai, I'm so cold. Can you hold me tight?" Zhulu hugged her tightly. Listening to her again, "Why can't you sleep today, Xiaobai, can you tell me about swallowing the beast?" "Okay." Zhulu stared at her face, and a white fox fur coat appeared, wrapping him and her all. He said, "The devouring beast in the Lost Land is actually not as scary as everyone said. That guy, although he likes to eat, is not really devouring the sky. Although it is terrible to swallow the heavenly beast, the most terrible thing is the demon source sealed in the Lost Land. There is only God in the realm without the demon, not because the devil has no devil, but the demon source is sealed. The devouring beast and the source of magic are in harmony. Once the devouring creature leaves the Lost Land, the source of magic will also overflow in this world. In case the devouring beast will be strong enough to leave the Lost Land, so there is nothing in the Lost Land that can devour the devouring beast, and there is no fairy spirit that can make it grow." Yanj curiously asked him, "What about you, what role do you have in it?" Zhulu raised her eyebrows and avoided her gaze, "Although I am a Buddha, I have a magic heart." He knew that the words could not be understood, so he continued, "The Buddha and the demon in the divine realm are twins. At the beginning of the birth, the demon will be thrown into the Lost Land, and the Buddha will be in the divine realm. Receive baptism, inherit everything from the ancestors, and protect the deities. But this time there was an accident, one twin, the other had no mind, and I was the demon of the Buddha body." Words of song. She knew almost everything about Zhulu. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gong Wei Pang. Chapter 957. This is equivalent to the fact that two of the twins will not deal with each other, and one of them will eat the other. Yanj thinks that these people in the divine world should not know the condition of Zhulu. Otherwise, those people would not worship and admire Julu as they did in the day. Yan Ji finally understood why the gap between Ju delusion and the previous Xiaobai was so large. It was natural to want this person to become a Buddha's demon. Naturally, he also gave birth to two personalities, commonly known as split personality. Therefore, the person she had previously provoked should be a magic heart. Seeing Ju deluded, Yan Gu seems to not want to continue talking anymore, so he continues to be curious and asks, "Anyway, it's still Buddha. It's no different from before, and you don't need to disturb yourself." Julu looked up and looked to the words, "It's not the same. I can't inherit everything from the ancestors. And there is no demon sacrifice in the lost land. The devouring beast will break through the enchantment and run out, and I have no powerful strength to stop it." All. Between light and fire, an idea flashed in the mind of Yan Song. She settled down and asked Julu, "So those who are ascended are thrown into the lost land, not fed to the devouring beast, but sacrificed to got the magic inside?" Zhu Wei nodded, avoiding Yan's gaze again, "Yes." Yang is a little confused, "Since you want to suppress the magic inside, why sacrifice those people to make it strong? The divine realm can have such a strong and steady stream of fairy spirits, and it can become the leader in many small worlds. Each divine realm is born without pollution, not only because the divine realm has no magic, but it's also because the gods nourish the demon in the lost land and nourish the whole world." Yang is well informed and so intelligent. "Where can I not understand the meaning of Ju delusion?" "Xiaobai," she asked, "what do you plan to do?" Julu does not intend to do this all the time. For nothing else, it is more and more difficult for him to restrain the demons in his body, and the devouring beast seems to be aware of his problems, and he is becoming more and more cunning. However, having a magic heart, the only benefit is probably that whenever the devouring beast tries to break through the enchantment, Ju delusion can release the magic in his heart and let the guy take a meal of devouring beast. However, the sequela that comes with it is that he will not be able to suppress the magic in his body. This happened before only occasionally, but recently, it has happened more and more frequently. Fortunately, he met the woman in front of him. She is a demon. For millions of years, the first demon to enter the realm of the gods. The rune formation on this stone platform was laid by him. He wanted to use his body to hold his magic heart, and then offered her to the lost land. But these words, Julu did not say. She said she was obsessed. She said he liked him. He helped her dispel her obsession and made her willing to die for him. As his heart thought, his hands touched her hair unknowingly, "I am a Buddha, and it is my mission to guard this divine realm. 9 delusions, though quiet, were extremely firm, I have to guard here. Those who are ascending are not in the realm of God, aren't they within your guardianship?" Yanj asked him, "Isn't the Buddha saying that all beings are waiting? Why is there a great difference here?" "Xiaobai, you Buddha is too unqualified." "It is indeed unqualified," he said, "I am the Buddha's demon, not the real Buddha. After my death, the villain blackened again." Author, Ben Gong Wei Pang. Chapter 958. What a cruel and ruthless Buddha. In terms of songs, I just like such people. Yanj suddenly laughed, and she wrapped his neck around him and happily said, "Since you're not a demon, isn't it, then there's no such thing as a broken ring, Xiaobai, let's be male lover. What about female love?" He glared at her for a while before reflecting on her thinking span. However, his body was honest, not only his ears turned red, but even his face turned red. Under the white fox fur coat, Juer's body was already naked. As soon as Yan Ji reached out, he caught his vitals. She looked at him with a bright eyebrow and said with a delicate voice, "Xiaobai, my body today it hurts, why don't you take the initiative?" She didn't wait for Julu to respond, and she pecked his lips up. "Xiaobai, I treated you like that last night, are you very happy? And I think you treat me like that, okay." He could not give up refusal. After all, he wanted to help her dispel the obsession. Before that, he was willing to agree to all her requests. 9 delusions began with a desire to please her. But gradually, his eyes were attracted by her body, and his brain was filled with novel and joyful things, and he was intoxicated and lost his way. It was not until later that he realized that many things completely exceeded his own expectations. He stared at her with some complex eyes. The bluish mottled body on her body and the red and charming face reminded him of the flowers that had been moistened by rain in the morning, delicate and pitiful, fragile and perfect. The taste of love in the air. He couldn't move his eyes and didn't want to move. His fingers touched her, and the soft, hot skin of his fingers shivered. It was a shudder of joy. He never thought that men and women would be so happy. This night, not only did both of them complete the last step of last night, but in Yan's view, she was truly in the body of Julu. However, it just entered his body. Men's sex, no matter which woman they are facing, such a night will not make Yang feel more confident that this person will be crazy for her. For the next few days, after Yang was engulfed by the wandering runes, the magical spirit used his own body to compensate Yang. He thought that this was compensating her and eliminating her obsession, so he always tried his best to help her relieve her desire and indulge his own desire. After 5 days like this, the magical spirit in Yang's body was empty, and even if she wasn't tied by a chain, she would not be able to leave the high platform. 9 delusions didn't know her physical condition, so this night's devotion became even harder. But what he didn't expect was that at the last moment, his place seemed to be stuck inside and could not move. His cultivation was at this moment, and rushed to her from the place where their bodies were connected. Dan Tian's pain was so extreme that he looked up in surprise at him. She was lying on his fox fur, lying under him, her face was like a peach blossom, her lips were like blood, and her eyes were slightly raised with red, charming, with ecstasy and charming, facing with his gaze, she seemed to be sober from the sex, squinting and drunk. "Why," he murmured, and it was clear that Dan Tian was in pain, but he felt that it hurt his chest even more. "You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After my death, the villain blackened again." Author, Ben Gong Wei Pang. Chapter 959. Yang's eyelashes trembled, and after being moistened, he still looked at Julu with his wet eyes, smiling slowly. 9 delusions met her seemingly non-smiling appearance, and she knew everything in a flash. But still couldn't help but want to ask her why. On her face, there was still the charming and enchanting girl who had never been scattered, and his body was full of traces left by him. At the last moment, they were still in your land. He listened to her and called him Ziobai with an intimacy. And now she did it to him. He knew exactly why, but still didn't understand why she did it. Unconsciously, he continued to mumble, "Why?" She didn't answer, but leaned up, grabbed his neck, and pecked his lips. His face was soaked with sweat, and the pain seemed to be pumping his flesh and blood like a cocoon. Over time, he even had the illusion that his body hurt so much that it would explode. He stared at her, word by word, and asked, "Why?" "Xiao Bai, you have to guard your divine realm, but I have to protect my companions." He still doesn't understand. He clasped her waist tightly with both hands, and the strength of the fingers almost embedded into her body. Don't you like me?" Yeah, Yan Ji's fingers touched his eyebrows. "I like it, but if I like it again, I can't be foolishly killed by you, my companions, they are waiting for me to save, how can I do that you lose their lives?" He looked at her and murmured, "But you said, you like me, even if I take your life, you are willing." She pecked his lips. "Fool you, the devil is so deceitful, how can you believe what I say?" She touched the corner of his eye with a finger, and added with a smile, no one wants to give their lives to others for nothing. That's not like it, it's mean. He opened his mouth and was speechless. But it hurts too much. The throbbing part of the chest really hurts. He stared at her without blinking, always feeling that he might never see her again when he was finished with pain. So, lips trembled and said, "Don't go to the lost land, the whole world of the gods will die." Song of Song interrupted him, "The lives of these people in the divine realm are based on the death of the ascendants. Your so-called salvation of the divine realm is the sacrifice of another person, and your Buddha is disgusting." Yan Ji knew that there was another powerful personality in the man's body, so he didn't really this guy into a personal job, lest the dog jump over the wall in a hurry. In case this guy is forced to die, this guy releases another personality, and it's not worth it. So I consciously sucked a little half of his cultivation, and felt that his body was almost unable to bear it, so he reached out and took off the Tong Tong Tian above his head. "Xiao Bai, the cultivation you took from me, I have to go back, and by Tongtian, I will take it back. I will meet in the future, I hope you become a Buddha." He squeezed her wrist at this time and yelled, "No." But she had taken Bai Tongtian off his head and put it on her. She pushed him away without turning her head, and as soon as her figure flickered, the tearing space disappeared before him. Julu lying on the ground, he stared at where Yan Ji left. For a long time, there was a moan deep in his throat. Although Yan Ji used double cultivation methods this time, those exercises that entered the body needed her to comb. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gong Wei Pang. Chapter 960. After meditating in the dark void for a while, Yan Ji got up and left the place. When she left the lost land, fearing that she could not find the lost land after leaving, she deliberately plucked a few black hairs from Xiao Meng's body. One of the black hairs of Xiao Meng was burned in the guide light, and the words of song kept going forward in the direction of the guide light. She went forward all the way through several cities. The gods are also divided into levels. Except for a few large clans who have their own cities and strong defenses, the other small cities are not much different from those of Xiaoxian realm. Oh, it makes a difference. Recently, the world has set up a circle around the head, and a long green hair is formed in the position of the circle's forehead. According to everyone, it is possible to ward off evil. If one day the devouring beast rushes out of the lost land, it will definitely not eat people with green hair on their heads. When Yanj looked at the various evil-proofing effects of Amway's own so-called green hair circle, and kept persuading her to buy one, she silently took out the feather duster on the waist and rolled the guy upset over your head. This one on her head, but the ancestor of the green hat. However, everyone doesn't buy the green hat ancestors. They surrounded Yanj, pointing at the feathers above Yanj's head one by one, saying incredulously, "This color is too green, it's not beautiful at all. What kind of fur is this? The fluffy texture is not a bit, and there is no joint bone on this ring, too rough. This one is too fake. Little fairy, you can really buy it without spending a lot of money. Why is it so fake? It's not good looking, and it can't be evil." Words of song. If the feather duster is an individual, it should vomit 3 liters of blood. Gradually, the people in towns and cities have reached a state of madness about the so-called evil spirit days. What materials are used to meet and greet each other's evil spirit days? Yanj is the existence of fake and shoddy products all the way to dis, so in the end, she could only silently insert the feather duster into the cloth bag on the back. The feather duster was probably injured. This time, she did not resist her arrangement, and she changed each one herself. She stayed in the cloth bag with the handle down. But when the wick didn't shake anymore, Yanj didn't find the lost place on the spot. The lost land has what is called enchantment protection. Yanj thinks that maybe she can only enter when the people of the divine realm who send the ascended people come here. Thinking about this problem, Yanj simply found a hidden place on the nearby hill. Yanj waited for 2 days on the hillside, but did not wait for those people, but waited for a guy who did not dare to mess with him. That guy is another 9 delusion. Almost as soon as this person appeared around, Yanj felt that the space around her seemed to be frozen, let alone moving. She even had the urge to shiver and kneel for mercy. She didn't understand why this guy was so powerful. But after listening to Julu's words, she guessed that because this guy was in this divine realm, he was the ancestor of the demon, and she, the grandson of the devil, would certainly be suppressed by his momentum. With such a reason, Yanj couldn't breathe even if oppressed by him, but he did not develop grief. Back with a straight back, the song waited for the man to slowly approach him, then raised his head and stared at him curiously.